and welcome to BCC Virtual Racing. Tonight's race, the firm favourite, I think, the London Classique, 38.4 kilometres around some of the famous landmarks of central London. Joining the race today in category B pen with 1 minute 5 seconds to go. 6 laps, 5.5 kilometres long, a total of 196 metres of climbing, so fairly flat, but one or two little bumps of note up to Trafalgar Square, 5% incline, which is about 300 metres long, which tends to make a big difference in this race. 45 seconds to go, and a quick recap from the racing on Monday evening. A fantastic win from Classique, just beating Lancia and Davis on the sprint for category B. So I've heard rumours that he might be invited to join another team, clearly rising up through the field. Category A was won by Tom, and no surprise, category C by Chris Reed, and yet again Telford beat Rob Jones in category D. A late rider just arriving in category B start pen. Good field of riders this evening, 11 in Cat B and 9 in Cat C. And the riders are off. Let's grab someone very quickly. All riders starting together. There's Danes and Davis, Campbell. Tricky to grab anyone until it settles down a little bit. There's Chris Reed. Did very well on the race on Monday evening. Obviously winning that category, but managed it fairly well, though was isolated for quite a long part of the race. And this is almost the front of the field, I think. 172 riders, in fact this is the front of the field. So moving backwards now, let's see if we can pick up. There is Classique, keen to do well again, and if he keeps this up, it will no longer be "I beat Barry" t-shirt. In fact, I've heard there are limited edition t-shirts coming out now that say "I've beaten Barry 5 times and 10 times." So if you think you're going to get one of those, I'd start racing hard now, because they will be limited. So Classique at 415 watts, I saw there at 0.8 kilometres. The start on this race, confusingly on the start pen it shows a picture of the London Velodrome at Lee Valley, although on the map it shows the riders starting outside the Tower of London. So something's been moved, not quite sure what, but it's a lead-in, I think, of around, let me just check, 5.4 kilometres, and then the multi-lap, 6 laps of 5.5 kilometres each, and already in this view you can see the riders beginning to stretch well out in the field. And Classique, for a moment there, I might just actually do a quick replay on that, because we might not see it again if I've captured it. There it is. There is Classique in the lead, pulling away from the rest of the pack. Unbelievable performance. I'd be super impressed if he keeps this up, but nonetheless, that was Classique leading the field. Move back a little bit now, and a quick check further down just to see how the riders are beginning to split up in this race. I can get the right screen on my PC. Here we go. So Tom obviously up there just behind Classique. There he is at 346 watts, typical average for him during a race, 317, so pushing above FTP I'd say at the moment, or just about on it, very close. And behind, in fact there is Davis I just saw as well. I can click on him. Davis is with Classique and Tom, all in this group. I can only imagine that Classique is now, he must be averaging above 3.99 watts. No, he still seems to be on 3.7 with his last win. Clearly has learnt from the master alongside him, so good luck to him. So Davis, Classique and Tom at 2.6 kilometres leading the charge for BCC. Danes may be in there as well. I think I saw him earlier, but moving back through the field slightly to pick up the next BCC rider. It is in fact Campbell and Lancia together. So the two big riders, this is a course that should suit them very well, largely flat, and the climb suits the heavier weight riders. It's something that they can gain momentum on, just punch up that climb. And on screen now, already beginning to stretch out. In fact, Lancia and Campbell, I wouldn't say they're dropping away, but they need to just watch that group ahead of them. But hot on their heels is Jury. She'll be sitting there in the group for as long as she can, hoping to hold on to the front of Category A. I haven't seen Charles. He was down on the start list for this evening, I think. Yes, he was. Maybe I've missed him. Quick check. In fact, we'll come back to that. Let's see what's happening further back in the field now. Chris Reed leading the charge again for Cat C at 3.4 kilometers. Seems to be with a faster group of B riders. That may well suit him well, actually. He seems to have left most of the rest of Cat C behind. And as the largest rider on course, one of the tallest, I should also add. And this is that climb I was talking about, up towards Trafalgar Square, 5% at the moment. And the larger riders should be able to just punch through this. It's about 300 meters long. That's all it is. And the riders now will enter into Trafalgar Square, take a right-hand turn, head down the Strand for about a kilometre, then loop back and come back to Trafalgar Square. There are about 24 riders from BCC tonight, so not the same large field that we normally see. There's a Wickham rider, Thompson. And here we go, some further BCC riders. So Taff and Shannon, Nixon as well. In fact, there's an ex-member, Finn, all riding together at 4.1 kilometers. So Reed, just to recap, is about a minute ahead, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly. His main competition from the last race was Nixon, who again finished second to him, some 1.5 minutes behind. So he'll have a hard job trying to close this gap, particularly if Reed is able to stay with that faster group. And I'm just checking to see who else is around here. No one that I can see at the moment, but we will come back to them. Shannon at 226 watts, 3.4 watts per kilo, 4.5 kilometers into the race. Taff right next to him, and I think, just looking at the last race, there was about a 2-minute gap between these two riders on the finish. That is Finn actually just beginning to drop away. We'll need to watch that. And just behind him, May, and another BCC rider. It might be Littlewood. Yes, it is Littlewood at 4.5k in category B, and May is ahead of him in category C, only just, but nonetheless. And there's White actually at 4.7k. There's some riders returning on the Strand. There's Tamsin at 4.7 as well now. They do a turnaround at this point. I think it's here, if I remember correctly. And back down the Strand. Morton 4.5k by himself again. This is not going to make him happy. No one behind, no one in front, just as he has rounded that 180-degree bend, coming back down the Strand now, heading back towards Trafalgar Square. There's Jones, and no sign of his nemesis. Jones by himself. He won't be keen on that. Lord 21 seconds behind him. Did Telford enter tonight? I think he must have done. I can't believe he wouldn't have, but I can't see him anywhere at the moment. And unless he's had some difficulties. I may just have missed him there. No, Zwift is not. Oh, whoops. I think I saw someone there. Morton. No, I thought I spotted another BCC rider sort of languishing at the back. Let's move back up to the front. Here the riders moving towards, there's Measham. Actually I hadn't spotted him on the way down the list. And Cullen just ahead of him, both heading towards Buckingham Palace now. This course is replica of the London Classique, the Prudential London Classique, and that's the finish line just behind them now. So Cullen at 202 watts. His FTP I think is around 221. Heartbeat 144, so he's got a bit more to give there I think, but again another rider that is isolated. But this chasing group with Oliver White and Measham at 6.3k is going to catch up with him, no doubt about that. So riders are on lap 1 now of this 6-lap race, and let's just see if Measham and co do catch up. Tamsin is a further 7 seconds behind. That's her in the distance there. So they're not making inroads yet, but Cullen has ahead of him quite a large group of riders, which contains Littlewood. There's about a 7-second gap between Littlewood and Cullen behind. And 9 seconds ahead of Littlewood is May at 7 kilometres. Shannon a further 21 seconds ahead at 7.4 kilometres. Just rounding Buckingham Palace, and they head up towards Hyde Park Corner I think, do a U-turn and come back again. In fact there we can see a great shot of the riders going out and back on the course, and by the looks of it actually Shannon's on the way back, not on the way out. Nixon and Taff and Shannon still together. Nixon will be doing well to hold on to this group I think. Taff is certainly quite a bit faster. Shannon a little, but certainly faster than Nixon. Thompson again from High Wycombe. Let's see what's happening. Towards the front, it looks as if there has been a split at the front already. Campbell, well, there's two Campbells there, but Neil Campbell from BCC at 8.2k along with Jury, and Chris Reed is still there as well. There is Jury. So in this group, Reed, Jury and Campbell. And what I don't know yet is how much further ahead. Disappointing to see Campbell here. I'd expect him to be a little bit further up. And here is that group further up, 27 seconds further up the course. This is where it climbs up to 5% as they approach Trafalgar Square again, and at 9.1k they will shortly be at the end of the first lap. Looks as if it's Lancier Davis, and I'm assuming Kalik is in here, just haven't moved far enough forward yet. There he is. Kalik playing it cool. Rob Dane's just on screen there as well. At 9.4k, 12 minutes into the race. I think Kalik still needs to get himself a helmet though. That probably would help his aerodynamics a little bit. And I'm not sure if he's perhaps breaking the rules wearing a cap, but anyway. Tom in the group as well as they round this 180-degree bend on the Strand. I think this one's on the Strand anyway. So Davis at 247 watts, 250, 280, 173 beats per minute, so he is at full race pace. Typical average for him 3.5 watts per kilo, 3.4 in the last race, 3.5, 3.6, not uncommon, and sometimes of course it approaches 4. So the riders, I would hazard a guess at this stage, are at race pace, but they're not pushing hard. That's the Flamme Rouge. And as the riders move under the Flamme Rouge, they come back to Trafalgar Square, just through this short bend, and they will head under Admiralty Arch. There's Trafalgar Square now. Around the right hand side, it's one of the lions of Trafalgar Square being replaced by a cyclist under Admiralty Arch and up towards the finish line, which from here is about 500 metres away, although it is clearly visible in the distance, which makes it quite a challenging push towards that line when it comes. So these riders are now about to enter lap 2 of the 6-lap race. So far so good. Lancia, Kalik, Tom, all together. There's Kalik, and I didn't actually mention earlier, but I think category D riders are, they may be riding one lap less, and maybe not, but we'll certainly soon find out towards the end. In fact, I'll have a quick check and just see. No, all doing 6 laps. I think it's the GGCC races that shorten it for category D riders quite often. So Kalik looking good, 233 watts. Davis up ahead of him. Lancia in there as well. It'd be great to see a break. It's certainly possible. This is an ideal course for it, but it's also fairly flat and fast, so not much time to do that. So moving now back down through the field, leaving the leading group, and it looks as if Reed is now with. This is interesting. Reed at 11.2, Jury 11.4 kilometers, and they are, I think, let's just check. So Lancia 42 seconds, about a minute behind. So Reed is about a minute behind the leading group, along with Jury at the moment. So that's a great performance from him, and in there is Campbell. So this is very interesting. So Chris Reed has gone out really hard again, as he did, I think, in the last race, and then fell back and then managed to pick it up again. But this is a great performance from him at the moment. Can he maintain this as they enter the second lap at 16 minutes and 20 seconds into the race, 12.1 kilometers? And there is Finn has dropped back a bit, but 24 seconds further behind Jury and Reed. Taff, Shannon at 11.8k, just rounding Buckingham Palace, heading up towards Hyde Park Corner and the Wellington Arch, which might have been replaced by some other cycling monument, but we'll see when we get there. Shannon 250 watts, still pushing hard, 3.4 watts per kilo. This is about his full race pace, and with him still is Nixon. So good performance from Nixon. In fact, I think if this race pans out as it currently is, let's have a look at the arch and see if it's been replaced by a cyclist on top. Looks like it. So the Duke of Wellington on his horse is no more. That's a winged cyclist, I think. So if Nixon keeps this up, he could well be at the front of Cat C for BCC. There is, he could in the next couple of races be at the very front of Cat C for BCC, as I think Reed must be very close or just about to be promoted to Category B. And May at 12.4 kilometers. Behind him, Littlewood I saw 13 seconds further back, so beginning to close the gap slightly. And certainly in my view, Littlewood, I wouldn't say should have no trouble beating May, but will beat May. Much depends really on how these riders have managed to start and which groups they've managed to stay with. And behind Littlewood, White at 12.2k, approaching Wellington Arch. And behind him, Peter Jones, first view on screen this evening, along with Cullen. Jones riding well. Measham in that group as well. So it looks like Measham, Cullen, Jones and White all together at 12.5k. Measham seems to be coming back to strength. Jones, I think, certainly capable of beating these riders and has done on many occasions. White, if he makes a bit of an effort, can do though. It's another rider that is close to Cat B. And there's the out and return to the Wellington Arch. Morton at 11.9k, and behind him by some 51 seconds at this stage is Jones. And look, a great performance from Lord here, managed to catch up with Jones. In fact, can see him ahead now. I haven't seen these two riders ride together before, other than the very initial opening stages of a race. And let's have a forward-looking view. Just 1 second behind. Jones could do with another rider to ride with. And there are a few riders on the list this evening that don't seem to have started. I haven't yet seen Stoneham Senior or Barr or Johnson. All seem to have entered, but if you're riding, I can't see you. And there they are together now, Jones and Lord. Great effort there from Lord. And let's move back up to the front of the field. Just checking on the way. Tamsin and, I was going to say May together, but it looks like Tamsin and White together now. Just letting Zwift update itself, along with Jones as well, Peter Jones. We've been coming together now of different category riders from BCC. And let's see what's happening up the pointy end of this race. Nixon 15k in. Shannon and Taff. Finn still together. 15.3k. I've just had a message from Telford, so perhaps he isn't racing, unless he's managing to race and type at the same time, which would be quite impressive, and that would certainly promote him to Category B. Here are the riders now going through the 180 degree bend back down the strand, and we'll pass under the Flamme Rouge shortly. Obviously not finishing on this lap. There is Campbell now at 16k. Now, who was he riding with? Is he still with his fellow BCC riders? Jury was with him, I think. Let's see if we can see. There she is. Jury and Campbell under Admiralty Arch at 16.6 kilometers, and they're 500 meters to the finish line. They will just be about to, as they pass under the finish line, they will be starting their third lap, the third of 6 laps, so they are now halfway through. Not quite in distance, not forgetting the lead-in of some 5.6 kilometers, I think it was. But ahead of Campbell and Jury Let's see how far ahead. At least a minute. And we have Danes, Kalik, Davis. Davis fancies himself up the front. And I'm sure Tom will be in here as well. So out of this group so far, looking for predictions as always, it's definitely going to be, in my view, Tom, by far the strongest rider, but he needs to stay awake and stay on top of his game though. I have seen him race before and be beaten by the category B riders, but that invariably is when they start at a different time, a minute behind, so it's a little bit more difficult. Don't quite know they're catching you up until they're right upon you. On this occasion, of course, all riders started together, so he may well be saving himself a little bit. Let's just see the difference. So Tom at 3.8 watts per kilo, Davis disappeared off the screen, but Davis and Kalik at about 3.74, and Tom is certainly capable of pushing quite a bit over 4. Last race on Monday averaged 4.3. Davis certainly wouldn't risk that, and I have seen Tom average 4.7 before, if I recall correctly, but now this posse of riders, Davis, Tom, Kalik, at 19 kilometers, 24 minutes into the race, all looking strong. And behind the leading group, how far behind? Let's try and find out. So far 1 minute back. It's about 1 minute 20 seconds further back is, oh, it's the wrong Campbell, sorry, that's someone else entirely. Jury, and Reed is still in there. I'd forgotten that. Reed is with Jury at 18.3 kilometers. That won't make her happy. She, having been caught by a Cat C rider, but I think that's more a reflection of what Reed's doing than what Jury isn't. And here's Campbell, just dropped off the back there slightly, which is a bit worrying. 245 watts, 300 watts. Big rider, this really should suit him as they round Buckingham Palace once again. Heartbeat up at 143, so a high average for him. Typically averages 145, so he's close to his maximum average. So he's certainly pushing hard, so I'm not quite sure what happened at the start for him. Maybe he mistimed a group in some way. But right now, Campbell, Reed and Dury all together. So representation from A, B and C categories. This could be a very interesting race to watch towards the end. 18.9 all still together. And behind them, next seems to be Nixon and Taff at 18.7 kilometers, about a minute behind Campbell and Co. There is Taff on screen, as I said earlier, and Shannon as well, sorry. As I said earlier, Taff should not have any problem beating Nixon or Shannon if he's feeling on form. He's a stronger rider, but one has to be careful. It's easy to make mistakes in this type of frantic crit racing. I don't think we'll see any such mistakes from Shannon though. Very experienced rider. And they are now at 19.4 kilometers. About a third of the climbing completed as well. And I'm not sure where they are now. Is it Whitehall? Can't quite see from here. Could be. Moving now further back and behind Nixon, May at 18.8 kilometers. There is Littlewood as well. Littlewood's at 18.9. So he is closing the gap. He's halved the gap, in fact, to May. who's now at 19 kilometres, Littlewood at 19 as well, so May's just moved up to 19.1, which is about right. Might just be able to see him up ahead. In fact, that is May ahead in this group, just passing the barracks on the right hand side, and behind Littlewood next up is Tamsin, 18.5. Normally very capable, certainly I should say normally very capable and rides quite often with Littlewood, so the two of them may come together. But behind, in fact in this same group, is White at 18.7. Jones, that's not reporting quite correctly, but anyway, Jones, it looks as if it's Jones, White, Tamsin and Cullen all together at 18.9 kilometres. In fact, yes, Zwift is sort of recalculated, and Jones and Measham. So this is a good contingent of BCC riders. In fact, most of them in this group are BCC riders. They're another very interesting group to watch. They are now about 4 minutes behind the leading group as far as I can work out. And here is that leading group, just approaching Buckingham Palace again at 22.9 kilometres. They are on lap 4 and heading out towards Hyde Park Corner and the Wellington Arch. Forgotten to look at a BCC rider rather than someone else. There is Matt Tom, 279 watts, 162 beats on the heart, so a little bit below average for him, so he's a little bit more in the tank, and certainly about 40 watts below what he can race at for 20 minutes plus. Seems to be riding comfortably, I suspect. Now he is saving it for the end, but what is this rider doing? He'll be keen to get another win over Davis, and indeed a win for Category B. He beat Davis and Lancia on the race on Monday. I thought it was Lancia that was going to win, but Classique, with a perfectly timed sprint, managed to push through and overtake him, and it should have favoured Lancia. Lancia's a good sprinter, but Classique at long last beginning to show his true colours, show what he's really capable of. I'm not sure who's driving him forward. It might be his girlfriend, but something's going on. Dane's sitting in there. He prefers the hills, but let's not eliminate him by any means. 24 kilometres into the London Classique, 14k remaining. Let's see how the gap is changing between the leading group. I'm actually on the way back. Just a quick look. Rob Jones and Lord together at 18k, and there is Chris Reed again, still with Jury. Is Campbell still in here? Well, there's an A Campbell, but not the N Campbell yet. Quick look behind, see if Campbell is here. Campbell is there as well. So Reed still performing above his category. Jury has dropped through the A's and a significant chunk of the B's. Will be riding fairly comfortably at the moment, along with Campbell. They are just watching Reed pushing 400 odd watts, holding on to this group, but he is a rider at 110 kilos, so he's certainly got a big engine behind him. But there's another rider in here with a big engine, and that's this rider, Campbell. Not to be underestimated at all, remains consistent in most races, which is one of the keys to success. Has just dropped below Davis in the overall ranking, unfortunately, but I'm sure there are plenty of opportunities yet for him to reverse that position, and it would be good to see, to be quite honest. So Campbell 23.7k. Chris Reed, though, an unbelievable performance so far. Not quite sure how he's managing to do that. And I'd like to almost just watch him for the rest of the race and see what he does. I can't put it this way. If he holds on to this performance for the rest of the race, he hasn't been trying hard enough in all the others, is the polite way of putting it. Unless Jury, Campbell and everyone else around them are going much slower than expected. But looking at Campbell, wrong one, there he is. Looking at Campbell and Jury and the way in which they're performing, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just Reed pushing really hard. In fact, let's just see if I can work out how hard. I'll find him on screen first. There he is. Nope. There he is. So Chris Reed. So currently 2.8 watts per kilo. Did average 3 watts per kilo in his last race, which is getting close to Cat B. So he is in fact a little bit under that now. So I might be mistaken. It might be the fact that this group in general is not running at its potential, but Reed has been fortuitous and managed to latch onto this group, push when he needed to and stay there. So if that is the case, good luck to him. But here we come round this right hand bend, and I think this is one of the slight inclines. No, maybe not. Behind Reed, Taff, and I'm assuming Shannon is still here. Taff at 24.4 kilometers, 35 minutes in. Nixon's there. Shannon, oh, Shannon has this is not good news for Shannon. Shannon has dropped off that group that contained Nixon and is now 44 seconds back at 160 watts. So what can we say? I think tactically he may well be waiting for this group behind him. No point trying to catch the group that he was with and is now 50 seconds further behind. That's not good to see. Something may have gone wrong. It happens sometimes. But some 20 seconds behind Shannon. Let's just have another look on that and see if that is the case. Sorry for moving up and down the screen all the time. There's Nixon. Nixon at 25k. Keep missing Shannon, but I think we've got, while we're here, Littlewood has closed the gap slightly on May, and I think May is about 10 seconds behind Shannon. Oh, here we go. 25 seconds is the gap between them, in fact. So if that is the case, then I can only assume Shannon, something has gone wrong. He has certainly dropped back into this group, will be much more comfortable in there, and he may well now start to pull away from May and Littlewood. In fact, there is May by himself, another rider that is going to have to drop back and find this group behind him, which is the group that will contain, or does contain, Littlewood. So here's the opportunity now for Littlewood, with some better tactics behind him, to catch up with May. There is Littlewood, and that is May ahead some 3 seconds. So yes, Littlewood and this quite large group of riders with him is going to consume May within the bunch, and I suspect May will try to hang on in there with this group. I think he probably can. Tamsin further back, 24k in, along with White still there, and Cullen. That's good to see. So Cullen, White, and I'm assuming, yes, Measham. Oh no, what's gone on here? So Measham and Jones have not been able to hang on to Cullen. That is a surprise. So Cullen and White are pulling away by some 25 seconds ahead of Measham and Peter Jones. That's a surprise. I would have thought that both Jones and Measham were faster than Cullen. Maybe not White, but faster than Cullen. So Cullen seems to be riding exceptionally well. Good luck to him. And a quick check on category D. Oh no, it's gone round to Cat A again. I was looking for the Cat D riders, but at 29.2 kilometers, less than 10k to go, it is still Davis, Kalik, Tom, Danes leading the charge at the front of the London Classique, now on lap 5 of 6 laps. And as they round Buckingham Palace yet again, in fact another bicycle at the top of Queen Victoria's statue there. And they head now back down. I think they're now going back down to Trafalgar Square. No, it can't be, not if it's a bend like that. This is Birdcage Walk. .30 kilometers, some 8.4k left as they pass the barracks on the right hand side. So all still together, the leading BCC group. And behind them, let's try and get some sense of what's happening. The gap to those Danes. So here we have 43 seconds further back. There's Morton at 23.9. He has been lapped, of course. Should be Campbell. There is Campbell. Neil Campbell at 28.6, having just passed Lord and Jones. Let's see what's happening. In fact, this is very interesting. Lord is now 20 seconds ahead of Jones. I have never seen that happen before. Jones has, just looking through the previous results here in front of me, has always beaten Lord. So either something is wrong with Jones, and looking at his par numbers, he is averaging what he normally does. Just having a quick look. Yes, he is. He's on par, on average. It looks like Lord is the one that is pushing extra hard. But maybe something's happened that we don't know about. Now Taff. What's happened with Taff? Taff is at 28.4. There he is, 28.6 now. The only BCC rider in this group now. So I'll just move a little bit further forward again. I just want to get an update. Campbell and colleagues. There is Jones and Lord. There's Jury. That's who I was looking for. So Jury, is she still with? Looks like it. Chris Reed. Still hanging on at 29.7 kilometers, along with Campbell. Now, the one rider I haven't seen recently, looks as if YouTube has gone a bit bonkers again. Not much I can do about that at this stage. Just a quick check. Might be having some technical issues, but anyway, not much I can do right now. So Chris Reed, Campbell still together, and Jury at 30 kilometers. Careful not to finish. Careful not to miss the finish. The one rider I haven't spotted recently is Morton. Is Lancia. Where is Lancia? This is a course that should suit him perfectly. Strong rider on the flats. Good sprint at the end. May just passing on screen Littlewood as well. There is Shannon. Looks to be with Littlewood now, I think. I just caught there as I went past. Nixon 34 seconds further ahead at 29.3. Taff. Not having trouble getting towards the front of the group. Excuse the clicking while I just try and get there. Chris Reed again. Davis. No sign of Lancia. I'm not sure what's happened to him. I hope he's still in the race. I have high hopes for him on this particular event. And this is the front of Category A. This rider, Van Gestel, trying to pull away, making a break for it by the looks of it. Don't think they'll hold on to it as they pass the finish line for the last time. One more lap to go on the London Classique. And there is Davis. I missed him. But those riders are getting caught already. So Davis and Classique. I hope Tom is in here as well. Danes is there, certainly. Yes, Tom, Davis, Classique, Danes, all together at 33.8 kilometres in this group of about 20 riders leading the London Classique. 44 minutes. I can't imagine that anyone is going to make a break for it at this late stage of the race. It's possible, but a little bit unlikely on the flats. It would need to be a consistent effort of at least 3 minutes, and at this sort of pace I'm not sure any rider's got a break of 3 minutes in them. Otherwise the mass of the peloton will just simply catch them up. So Classique and Davis, Tom, time to pick a winner. Well, I think it could be Tom, just because he is the stronger rider statistically, and in most cases certainly Tom for Cat A, but he has been beaten by the Cat B riders when in a group before. But in Category B, as Lancia has now dropped off, it looks like anyway, I think I'm going to go for Classique again, so I hope he doesn't disappoint me. It's a long time since he used to support me as the domestic, so the local domestique, and Lancia used to support me as an international domestique. But the two of them have long since been promoted to the top tier of racing and left me far behind. So I have a special affinity to both of these riders. Not that I'm biased in any way at all, as long as Davis doesn't win. Oh, it looks, I've just seen on the chat that Lancia has in fact crashed, not literally but technically, so he's out. That is a shame. It could have been some useful points for him. 35.4 kilometres, and so that I don't miss it, I will stay with these riders now until the finish. The question is, are there any signs of anyone making a move? Tom is up the front, but nominally, in that he's just towards the front of this group, rapidly catching up with White and Co. So 1 lap ahead of Oliver White in Category C, and there they are, in fact, just as the sun is set. Well, it's the moon actually coming up, I should say. I was going to say the sun setting, the moon rising. And so they are just about to catch White, Cullen in this group right in front. There is White now on screen, just ahead, and Cullen as well. Bang, there they go. And out the back, there goes Cullen. Goodbye, see you later. So that gives me an idea of how long I've got to wait until the finish in terms of the live broadcast up towards Westminster Abbey and Parliament. At 36.6k, and here comes the hill. This is the one chance any of these riders have got to make a push. Let's see if anyone goes for it. Tom and Classique next to each other. Can't quite see Davis on screen now, but I'm sure he's right there. In fact, he's just behind. So Classique, Tom. Kalik goes for it early, 8.2 watts per kilo. He puts a little bit of a push in. Davis doesn't respond. Danes responds a little. Tom disappeared off screen, but I'm sure they're all there just testing each other out. No one keen to go for it at this stage. Who is it going to be? I've got the cursor on Kalik. Tom, I think, is going to win for the A's. And as they come down the strand, make the 180-degree bend, go back down the other side of the strand, head towards Trafalgar Square under Admiralty Arch, then roughly the 400-500 meter sprint to the finish. And quite why they're riding on the wrong side of the road is another question, but anyway. So at the moment, just about to round the 180-degree bend, the Flamme Rouge will come into sight, and then of course 1 kilometre to the finish. All eyes on Kalik, Davis, Danes and Tom at this stage. Davis will be feeling a bit despondent, having been beaten by Kalik more than once now. But they have the advantage that Lancier's crashed and no longer in the race. There they are, just going under the Flamme Rouge now. And here we go for the final 1,000 metres of this course, approaching Trafalgar Square with the gallery on the right hand side, and I was going to say Nelson's column, but it might have a cyclist on top. Here comes Admiralty Arch, about 400-500 metres to go. Who's going to make a move first? Kalik at 6 watts per kilo. No sign of Davis, can't see him in the couple of riders pushing off the front. Looks like Tom has gone off the front. Can he hold it? No, he's in this group with Kalik. Kalik and Tom next to each other, no sign of Davis. Kalik up 9.4 watts per kilo. Tom is pushing hard. Looks like Tom at this stage. Is it going to be Tom? Kalik, where's Davis? No, Kalik is ahead of Tom. Unbelievable. Kalik's ahead of Davis and Tom. No, Danes has just passed Kalik. Tom is behind. No sign of Davis. Looks like Danes, Kalik, Tom, I think in that order. Have a quick check of the replay and see if we can see. Looks like Kalik, followed by Tom. No, Danes in front at this stage. Danes, Kalik, Tom, no sign of Davis. I'm not sure where he's got to. I can only imagine he's still out there. But let's get back to the racing, get the next riders coming up to the finish. What happened to Danes, I don't know. This must be Campbell next. Who's he with? Chris Reed. Let's watch Chris Reed and see what he's capable of. He's still there at the finish. Unbelievable performance. No sign. Oh, there is Jury. I was going to say no sign of Jury. In fact, I'm going to watch Jury because what's going on? Campbell is 2 seconds behind. This is going to be exciting. There is Jury 2 seconds ahead of Campbell. So she's clearly gone for a break at some point, but hasn't been able to maintain it. So Reed and Campbell together. Great performance from Reed so far. Certainly can't take anything away from him on tonight's race. He is there with Campbell and Jury right up to the end. Jury is 3 seconds ahead, in fact. She's pulling away. This will be an unbelievable result if she manages to maintain this. 4.95 watts per kilo this far out. This is an impressive performance. Still increasing the gap. Look at the size of that peloton behind her. She's got everything to give now, and she's got to do it. The peloton is closing slightly. 3 seconds to go as she passes under the Flamme Rouge. This is torture for her. Riders behind beginning to wind it up. Campbell at 6.3 watts per kilo. The gap is closing. 2 seconds now. Come on, Jury, keep pushing. You can do it. We're all behind you, quite literally. as she now approaches Trafalgar Square. She's going to have 500 metres. Campbell is right on her tail. There is Campbell and the view he has of Jury. These two have been in a sprint often. That's a shame that she's not holding this peloton off. Looks as if it's broken Reed though. He is dropping away. It looks like Campbell and Jury at the front. Jury has just seen Campbell overtake. And in fact, Jury has been consumed by the peloton. Reed and Campbell up the front. Looks like Reed is in the lead. I've lost Campbell. There's another Campbell there, of course. I'll just stay on Reed for the moment. Looks like Reed crossed the line first and may be mistaken. It's quite hard to tell. See if we've got a replay on that one. See if we can work out. Chris Reed at the moment looks as if he crossed the line ahead of Jury and Campbell, but I've a sneaking... No, Campbell is ahead. So it was Campbell first, Neil Campbell, followed by Reed. Fantastic performance from him, and unfortunately overtaking Jury just in that final few hundred metres. Morton now at 32 kilometres. Let's see who is ahead. Littlewood, I suspect, will be the next finisher. But where is Shannon? Measham 33.5. Cullen at 35.2 kilometres. May 36.3. Is that Littlewood? Yes, Littlewood 36.6. I think Littlewood may well be the next runner on course. Morton just ahead of him, but at maybe one lap behind, I'm not quite sure. But as Littlewood makes the last climb up towards Trafalgar Square, May is sitting right on his tail. So I will stay with Littlewood now for the final sprint towards the line. And here we go, round Trafalgar Square. Oh, I'm sorry, they've still got a bit more to go yet. So out on the Strand, got to go through the 180-degree bend, past the Flamme Rouge, which is now appearing on the left-hand side. And that could mean that we've got someone else ahead. There is Shannon, in fact, only just ahead of May. Nixon, not unfortunately winning Category C today. All by himself, no one, I think, behind, no one behind, no one in front. So he is going to be the next rider to cross the line for BCC. Just going under Admiralty Arch now, and the final 500 metres or so of this course. But a good performance for him, beating Shannon to the finish line. Is Shannon going to... So I don't think it's impossible to close 15 seconds in 500 metres, not without something very special indeed, but nonetheless. And just watch Nixon coming towards the line and now move back towards Shannon, who is right down the other end of the finishing straight, and that little dot in the distance is Nixon. So Shannon is going to finish this course in about 58 minutes approximately, and I don't want to lose the other riders behind at this stage. And nice to see Shannon puts in a bit of a sprint towards the end, 8.3 watts per kilo, but the rider behind him is responding, and I don't think gets him on the line. But behind, I'm looking for Littlewood now, as he approaches the finish line, with May still sitting right behind him. Let's see what happens here. There is May on screen now with Littleward. 3 riders in front, I think. Yes, 4 riders in front. So it's going to be Littleward that crosses the line ahead of May at this stage. Littleward at 5.1 watts per kilo. May responding at 5.4. I think a little bit too much too late. And there's Johnson, unbelievable. Haven't seen him all race and he sneaks in on the finish line. I did see Cullen there, but I've lost him now. Jones, where is Cullen? Morton at 34, Measham at 36 has pulled well away. Tamsin at 37. Looks like it will be Tamsin, yes, so let's just stay here. So it's Tamsin at 37.9 kilometres, Cullen 24 seconds further back, along with White at 37.6, 37.7 now. So we see Tamsin now going around Trafalgar Square and approaching Admiralty Arch. 500 metres to go. Don't think there's anyone in contention from a BCC perspective that she needs to worry about. Nope, no one there. We'll let her cross the finish line. Moving back now to Cullen and White. Who's in for the sprint here? Let's see. Good question. Cullen has a certain determination about him, but I suspect White has got the better kick, being a slightly younger rider. Tamsin's now just crossed the finish line by the looks of it. Here we go, under Admiralty Arch, finish line in sight. Cullen and White. Cullen is in fact responding, has moved just ahead of White. White has noticed that and moves back ahead of Cullen. Is he? No, still there actually. Yes, no, Cullen has moved. In fact, they're swapping back and forward. It looks like Cullen, White at the moment. White's continuing to pull away. Cullen has not responded. Cullen has given up. That's a great sprint from White, but Cullen just let it unwind there and decided that White was going to win, and that's exactly what happened. So here we are, Measham and Peter Jones. Peter Jones, in fact, is just ahead of Measham as he is about to round the 180-degree bend on the Strand. There is the Flamme Rouge on the right-hand side of the course. Now the question is, out of Measham and Jones, well, I think Jones has got quite a good sprint on him actually. So we'll see what happens. Just over 1 kilometre to go. Coming round the 180-degree bend now. And this tight left-hander. And there is the Flamme Rouge just ahead of them. Jones down to 1.5 watts per kilo. And I think Jones is positioning himself for the sprint, tucking in behind Measham. And I think that's Measham in the black, Jones in the yellow. I'm just looking behind them actually just to see who's next up. It is Morton at 36.4 kilometres, 1 minute 24 seconds further back. So Jones, a very experienced rider and racer, sitting behind Measham. No, it's maybe the pace isn't high enough. He's moved past Measham. He thinks he can take it on. I hope that he can. He's changed his mind and come off the par again. It is quite hard to hold a constant par on Zwift sometimes, but let's see what happens now as they round Trafalgar Square, come under Admiralty Arch for the last time in this race for these riders. And there is the finish line ahead. Who's it going to be? Jones currently ahead, but only nominally. So it is Measham in black, Jones in yellow. And Measham is going Jones is also going. Both Joneses, both holding much the same parts. Jones going full out. Measham responds with 8.6 watts per kilo. He may have left a little bit late, but Jones is backing off. It could be Measham. Measham still pushing hard. He sees the right on the finish line. It may just have been Measham. Let's have a look at the replay on this one. Measham, Jones in yellow, Measham in black. Jones comes off the power a little bit too early. Measham moves. I think that will take a photo finish on that one to see what's going on. And just as it starts to rain, the riders are moving into their cool down. And I want to try and catch. There are other riders on course still. Rob Jones at 35.6. Lord is now 1 minute ahead. There's Morton, that's what I was looking for. 37 kilometres. 37.8. And he gets the tail end of this course and into heavy rain now, which will be slowing him down. Look at that, can't even see the finish line, there's so much rain, but he knows where it is. He's passed this archway 5 times before, but it would be nice nonetheless to see a bit of a sprint. I'm not sure we're going to see one. No need really, no one behind or in front. And there is the finish line ahead of him now, so well done to Morton. And further back, the last riders I think we have on course this evening. Lord, 37 kilometres, and Jones not going to catch her unfortunately, but a great ride from Lord by the looks of it, as Lord and Jones have to endure the rain, which of course, though they're not getting wet, I think it will probably slow them down with the Zwift algorithm. So Jones, 1 minute behind, is not going to catch Lord unless something dramatic happens. So I will leave the racing for this evening. Thank you all for watching. Next race is on, forgot what day it is, Monday evening. See you all there.